Are you ready?
Alright.
Hold on. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be filming an update video on our buddy Aaron's GMC Sierra. This is the truck that you guys saw previously that we were short coursing, and now she is all complete. So we're out here in Placer City actually shaking down the truck, and before it got dirty we just wanted to go over it and check everything out now that it's all done. Aaron here. What's up, brother?
Hey, brother.
Whole lot of fire me up right now, or what?
A lot of fire me up today for sure.
You ready to finally drive this thing?
Yeah.
Dude, 1 year in the making. This thing's finally gonna be back out here.
Well, yeah, technically 1 year, but not on my part.
Not yet.
Man.
Not on his behalf.
A year.
It took a little while.
Yeah, so a year ago this truck did get into a rear end collision. Someone ended up tapping him and it just pushed the whole rear of the truck in. Yep. So Aaron just wanted to go full send and do a short course setup on this truck, which he ultimately wanted to do anyways. So that just gave him the excuse to spend a bunch of money and finally do it.
Unfortunately.
So that's how we ended up in this situation now.
Yep.
Also got Jake out here.
What's up,
brother?
How are you?
Dude, I'm fired up.
Long time coming. Let's get it going.
Dude, let's go. Got Ryan as well.
Yes, sir.
See the Ranger in the back? That thing's gonna be driving today.
Ranger in the back, baby.
Yeah, we are gonna be filming. We're gonna be filming this update video as well as actually shaking down the truck, and that'll be its own video. But you'll see some shots of the Ranger in that as well. So should we just do a quick recap on what's done on the front of this truck for those who haven't seen the walk around video previously?
Yeah, we could do that.
Sweet. So it's a 2008, right?
Yeah, 2008 GMC Sierra.
Man.
It's got obviously the LP9s on the front.
How do you like those lights?
I love those things.
Dude, the Baja Design stuff's really bright.
It's plenty of light. Like, everybody always asks me, how do you like those lights? I'm like, dude, it just put them on there and you don't have to do anything else.
Yeah, there's a lot of output.
Fine.
Christian has, what do you have, the XL80 Pro or something?
Yeah.
And those things are super bright. But yeah, Baja Designs, KC, all those dudes make good lights.
Yep.
So as far as front suspension setup, what are we looking at on this thing?
We got the Missoula race kit. It's the Gen 2 MZ race kit, so it's MIG welded, and it's got the integrated bump stops. So
integrated? What do you mean by integrated bump stops?
Into the shock tower.
Into the shock tower.
Okay,
yeah.
so is that Missoula's shock tower kit as well?
Yeah, on the Gen 1, it didn't have this whole deal up here. Sure. So on the Gen 2, they added that.
Right. Because on like on Cameron's truck and
Cameron's and Mason's, yeah, they both had to have SMP do it.
Yeah.
So Chris do it on this one.
So on this one, it was just already done. You didn't have to worry about that. That's nice.
Same with the Gen 3s now too. All integrated bump stops.
And is Chris still making these kits?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can.
Yeah, he just started making them again. Yeah.
Sweet. And what's the shock package on the front of this thing?
It's a 2.5 coilover, 3.0 bypass, 10-inch.
10-inch?
Yeah.
Oh man, I like the heat shrink you got on the Rezzies. That's probably you, huh?
Well,
if that was me.
Yeah, that's him on this.
Yeah, so you did a full, once you got this truck, you did a full refresh on the front, right?
Yeah, tore everything off, redid everything,
just
rebuilt
more
everything,
maintenance style stuff.
Yeah, just to make sure that it was good enough to be driven.
Yeah.
And make sure it was safe, more or less.
Sure. Yeah, just go through everything, make sure nothing's loose, you know?
Yep.
Don't have to worry about it. So what's the wheel and tire package on this thing?
We got the Ultras. I think they're 10, what is it called, 103s or something like that?
I have no idea.
Something or another. Ultra beadlocks, real beadlocks, MZ hubs, 37-inch BFG projects.
Yep. I just like the whole color of this truck with the black, and then you got the chrome and then blue accents as well.
Yeah, a little bit of balance.
Yeah, it's nice.
A little bit of balance.
So is that, that's pretty much for
the front,
right?
Front, yeah.
Is it stock rack?
Stock rack, yeah.
What glass is this?
ADV.
ADV glass.
ADV front glass.
And the rear, which we'll get to, it doesn't have glass on it right now because it's got to go to Line-X still, but you got ADV for the rear as well, right?
Yeah, ADV, all ADV all the way around.
Could show the shifter and the handle.
Yeah, so this truck's getting a full center console, which Christian pretty much has completed, but it's not in the truck right now, just for the test day. So yeah, I got hoon handle that Christian made himself. You want to talk about how you went through and kind of designed that?
Yeah, if you want to go to the other side so you can see it better?
Yeah, sure. Oh! I don't know about that one, dude.
Hey, man.
Oh, okay. Okay, what's going on with this?
Take number 7.
Yeah, what's going on with this hoon handle?
Well, I didn't want to run. Everybody runs the Willwood base for their master cylinders, and they run
like
whatever.
an ASD handle? Is that
the ASD one is what we have in our pre-gunner.
I know you can get a Camberg one too, or I think Kibby makes one.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there.
Chris makes one now too.
Yeah, Chris Missoula has one too. Everybody does theirs out of billet stuff, out of billet material, and then machines it out. I wanted to do something just all out of plate work, so I did. It's a piece of inch and a quarter. Sorry. Not inch and a quarter.
Quarter inch?
It's quarter inch, 3/16, and then the overlays on the outsides are 1/8 inch, and then I blended it all together on the face so you don't see it. It just looks like one solid chunk.
And then is this thing gonna get cleared or powder coated or what's kind of?
I'm not sure yet. He's kind of on the fence on what he wants to do. I think it'll probably end up getting powder coated at some point. But we got the grip on the top just so you have like a nice spot to be able to grab the handle and really get a hold of it, which it feels really good. Like everything on this handle I'm pretty pumped on, because with our ASD one, for example, when you pull that thing, you feel like a little bit of wobble and flex in it. This, with how much material is stacked up on this thing, you don't feel any flex at all. So,
and one important thing to mention too, which we'll get to a little bit, you guys will see it in the rear, is this has its own caliper setup on the rear. Our truck, on the 92F1 build, it's routed in line, which means that the handbrake itself is just plumbed in line to the brake lines that go to the rear of the truck. This is its own setup that goes to a separate set of calipers.
System.
Yeah, so each side on the rear of the truck has 2 calipers. So one for your normal brake system and one just for the hoon handle.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because now he's able to use the foot brake to be able to slow the truck down. And then if he wants to kick the rear of the truck out, he can pull this and it's not fighting each other.
Hey Aaron, does that thing work or what?
Oh, it works, brother.
We're gonna be feeling her out today too. And then just normal gated shifter in this thing.
Winter shifter.
Yep, and then all the paneling will come down in here. I might just include a photo if you have one of how it sits right now. But all that's gonna get leather wrapped, so it'll be super clean in this truck. And then just got the Switch Pros down here, temporary for now. Full custom zip tie mount.
Custom USA made zip tie too, baby.
Dude, that's how we do it, dude. And just got the Mob Armor phone mount, and then just is at the edge.
Yeah, this is just temporary too. This goes in the console that I have made for it. But for right now, just to be able to make sure everything's good, he can just glance at that up in the windshield.
Sure. And then no cage in this thing for now. Aaron, you plan on doing a cage in the future?
Yes.
So that's one of the future updates.
We're gonna find out real quick after today.
Yeah. When you got a lot of suspension like this and no cage, you definitely are limited by that. You're not limited by suspension anymore. You just don't want to push it too much to where it's not safe. So rest of this thing, stock seats, stock interior, just super comfy. Got all your creature comforts still AC, which is nice about these ARM trucks. Yeah, big ARM guys. Oh man, I just love the black on this thing. All right, ready to go to your favorite part?
What?
Ready to go to your favorite part?
Yeah, dude.
All right.
The whole thing's my favorite part.
So I know people are gonna ask you, why'd you want to go short course instead of like a full back half setup on this thing?
Just to keep it like kind of down the. I don't really know what I wanted. I didn't want to commit to a full like race truck type deal or anything like that. Like I still wanted like this whole thing is built around being able to put a dirt bike in here still. And having somewhat of a functional bed. I mean, aside from the big tire that's in there, but
but that can come out.
Pull the tire out, put a dirt bike in there, and then it's ready to go.
I guess it's a lot larger commitment too, because if you're doing a full back half, you're doing a cage at the same time. So then it's just gonna be a lot longer, more expensive process. So this is a lot more like dailyable. You can drive it on the street with no issues.
This was just like the fine line for me for leaf springs versus full blown link kit.
And the nice thing about this, if you're coming from leaf springs, like the shock setup is like very similar.
Very similar.
I mean, it's a leaf sprung inspired bed cage.
So like, what I mean by that is like the shock position and angle. Obviously, it's a coilover compared to a bypass that you're running on a leaf sprung setup. Let's just jump into this thing. So right off the bat, you can see all the Line-X done by Dallas at Line-X San Diego.
Yes, sir.
He handles all of our stuff. Dude kills it. So shout out to Dallas. But you can also see some powder coats. So what's going on with the bed cage in this thing?
Yeah, so back to kind of what we were talking about, like his whole premise for what he does with this truck too is he still drives it to work, or he was driving it to work. He still wants to be able to drive it on the street. He wants to be able to put a dirt bike in it. So basically everything in the back of this truck was laid out based around what he wanted to use this truck for. So the bed cage is real simple, like a leaf sprung and styled inspired bed cage. Just a 3.0 18-inch coilover in the back, just a race series coilover, just standard coilover. And then I mean everything is in its place where it needs to go, and just nice and clean.
Now I gotta give credit just to Christian, because Christian did the whole back of this thing. I didn't touch any of it, so this is all Christian's work, and he did a super good job on all the fit and finish. Just all the fabrication work on it.
That's what takes the time.
So that's what makes it all, like, once you finish it, you're like, damn, I'm so glad I did that.
Glad you spent the extra time on that kind of stuff.
So do you, like, obviously a lot of people wonder like how people afford these trucks. Do you want to talk about kind of what you want to do for a living a little bit?
So I work for a detail company, and I kind of run my own as well. So I used to work for Trader Joe's. I don't do that anymore, so now I'm just full-time cleaning stuff.
Mr.
Sure.
Clean.
Mr. Clean, dude.
See, that's the cool thing. It's like if you're really dedicated to off-road stuff, and it's what you love, like you can make it happen. Like anyone can make it happen, dude. Like you don't have to be a multi-millionaire to be able to afford the stuff. You save, put money away, and you really want to do it. It's certainly possible.
Yep.
So yeah, I got spare tire setup.
Yep. Yeah, it's a matching 37-inch spare to what's on the truck now. Same wheel and tire combo.
Yep.
Got the tire cover on it with the speed strap holding it in.
And then you can see the big like cover right here for where the axle comes up.
Yeah, that's all for clearance
Yeah.
for the top of the housing.
So it's pretty cool. You just use that big tubing, so that's for the upper lengths, and then all this like pyramid structure is for the top of the housing itself to come up.
Yeah, and
So
then what I also did too, because his biggest complaint with how the truck was set up before, because it had a bed on it with a similar style bed cage but leaf sprung, and it had a bunch of holes cut in it, and his biggest complaint was when he stepped in the bed, it would flex real bad.
Yep.
So now you can see right here, there's one back here, but then there's also two more right here, fender washers, and that goes to a plate that runs on the underside of the bed, and that's just squishing everything together, so the bed has zero flex in it at all.
Yeah, so in between the frame rails, there's a bunch of structure and lacing in there to keep everything nice and rigid.
You might be able to. You might be able to see it on this.
Here,
side.
yeah, let's check it out. But on top of all that lacing and structure, that's where the tabs come up that he was talking about to be able to support the bed.
Yeah, you
a
can see
little
it on
more.
this side. You gotta get wood in there. Whoa. You can see it right over
Yeah,
here.
so you can see all the lacing. You can see that big plate up there holding the bed in. And like Christian said, that's just going to give you more support when you're walking through the back of this thing, so you're not feeling like you're going to fall through the bed.
Yeah.
Not that we do that all the time, but it was just one of those things that I noticed on the old setup that I just did not want anymore.
Sure. So nice setup. Do you want to talk about this whole deal real quick?
Yeah, so this right here it's a Pro Eagle jack mounted to a full custom tube structure that mounts the jack, and then it also has an oil container holder too. So it's really simple to get this apart. It's literally just two wing nuts on each side, and it pops this right out so you can get to your oil. Just like that, you get to your oil super easy. But it also holds it in real nice too, so when the truck's bouncing around in the dirt, especially because this stuff's so far back in the bed,
Sure. Yeah.
all that stuff is going to be moving a lot. So having this hold down, it holds it in real good. It locks the caps in, basically, is what it's doing.
Yeah.
And then just holds it in nice and tight.
And then this is Izzy's setup, right?
Yep.
The
Yeah.
fuel
So
fill?
it's got Izzy's fuel fill, just his plate, and then it's the stock like filler up to about right here, and then everything else after that is all stuff that I made. And then it goes into Izzy's fuel cell cradle, and then a Jazz 32-gallon fuel cell up underneath the bed right here in the back.
Yeah, so one thing that we didn't mention is the transcoolers that are in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's two, what we figured out, single pass.
Yeah, we learned that yesterday.
Air filter. So yeah, got those down, and once we got those, we had them plumbed incorrectly at first, but we got that figured out pretty quick. And this thing cools down pretty quick, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, you said.
You turn them on, and a couple miles later, and it's right back to running time.
Yeah. And then you got just the nice paneling on top of all this stuff.
Yeah, just detail stuff.
Yeah. So gloss black, and then kind of the flat black and chrome accent a little bit.
Yeah, so all the tube structure, everything back here is all the gloss black. All the panel work is all the flat black, just to kind of have a contrast on everything. And then obviously all the Linux is nice and shiny too, so like everything kind of goes together a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean it just accents the whole rest of the truck. You got the King Blue matching like the bead locks.
Yep.
King Blue,
And then you got like just the little fender washers that you put in the bed. That's blue as well. So everything kind of contributes and
the
works
fenders
together.
will have those blue fender washers as well once the fenders are on this thing.
Yeah, it'll be looking really good. So is there anything else like on top back here that we need to cover? I mean, you can kind of see
it's got
all the paneling for where the tire comes up.
Yeah, all the panel work, that's all to make sure these tires clear, which these tires clear for sure. I made it to where this truck will clear a 39-inch tire, no problem, all the way to bump, and then also a 37-inch paddle.
Okay,
as
so
well.
it'll fit paddles as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. Man, so yeah, you're not gonna have to worry about any of that. Yeah.
Thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, should we drop underneath and kind of check that out?
Yeah.
So that's where it gets real fancy.
That'll probably be better.
Whoa. All right. Whose bumper is this, Aaron?
Missoula.
That's Missoula as well.
Yeah, Christian.
Man.
That needs Linux as well, but
Yeah,
it did have the sensors, and Christian filled the sensors in there.
Yeah,
so that keep it clean.
Yeah. Yeah, just
This
nice,
truck,
sleek.
This truck's a 2008, so it doesn't have the rear parking sensors.
So you
on
weren't
it.
even using it, it was just kind of
so
for
it's
show.
just kind of there.
Sweet.
Clean it up a little bit.
All right, now we get to go to the party zone, dude. All right, so you guys saw in the last video when we were talking about short coursing this thing, all these links were already on there. These are going to stay raw for now, and you want to talk about why that is?
Yeah, I just wanted to leave them raw just to make sure we can, after this trip, we can make sure there's no cracks, nothing like that. This is the first set of trailing arms I've ever built, so I just want to make sure everything's good with these. And then the other thing too is after today, we'll know if this truck needs a sway bar or not.
Yeah.
After driving it on the street, I'm like 99% sure it's not going to need one.
Sure.
But we just left them raw for that reason too, just in case it needs a sway bar. The sway bar mounts would end up being on the trailing arm. So
yeah, you don't want to have to grind down powder coat. And then
that's not fun.
Yeah. So those are gonna stay raw for now, and Aaron's just gonna keep them clean with WD-40. Yeah, got the lower link pivots right here.
Yep.
And then moving back, all of the frame rails itself is just spray paint, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that looks really good, just that nice black. And then you can see where the bed cage comes down and actually mounts here.
Yeah, so the bed cage, with the way that I set this up, it's a plate on each side of the frame, because these frames are boxed, so it has a plate on each side, the top plate, and then the bolt goes through the entire frame rail. But where it goes through the frame rail, I also drilled it out bigger and then ran a 1" by like 120 weld tube that goes through the frame, and then I welded that in so the bolt has something nice to go through.
Sleeve yeah, so it's not just gonna be like almost 2 tabs that can wallow out a little bit.
And then it also, like, you can see where the tube comes up off that plate work, and then I boxed this entire thing in as well. So it's not just a single tab that's sitting here to gusset it, it's an entire boxed in section that comes all the way up. You can see the tube up here. It comes all the way up and meets to that tube up in the junction up in there.
So he's talking about the one up here, just
and then same thing with the back here too. It's got a tiny little like fully boxed in gusset that holds the entire bed cage to the truck.
Yep. And then this C-notch kit, this is Izzy Fab's kit as well. And then you mounted these bump stops a little bit differently than you
so
would.
These we reused the bump stops that he had previously for the leaf sprung setup. And I wanted to keep it somewhat bolt on, and the bump stops that he had was an eyelet, or not the eyelet top, but the
like it's meant for the
it's a pin top. Yeah, it's a pin top, so it's meant for a can to hold it in. But I still wanted to keep them somewhat bolt in, so what I did was we used the King clamps on the bottom that goes through the notch, and then it has the bolts on the back side that hold it in. And then on the top side on the bed cage, you can see it, I took his old can and cut it down on a taper. So the can is only about this tall, and then it still has the big nut that holds it on, but it's only going into the can just a tiny amount. So the bump stop will never get stuck, and it should make it really easy to get this thing in and out if it ever needs to come in and out.
Yeah, so one of the disadvantages with the can setup is that, like you were saying, it can get stuck in there,
especially over time.
Yeah, so they're just super tight fit. You got to for sure put anti-seize on that bump stop when you're putting it in, and then it can just be a pain getting out. Especially never weld those bump stop cans in with the bump stop in it, because you're not going to get it out, because once you apply heat, it's going to warp and you're not getting that thing out ever. Yeah, so this thing should not have any issues with that, and it's just a different setup. No one really does it like this, so I just thought that was really cool. You can see the overlay carrying through all the way back to the back of the truck, and that's that 32-gallon Jazz fuel cell. And then is this yeah, so is this is Izzy's fuel cell mounting kit?
Izzy's cradle and Izzy's skid plate. It also has Izzy's fuel adapter kit on it, so this truck has the stock fuel pump and stock everything else in it, so the gauges work just fine.
Yeah, that's what's nice.
Everything works just fine. You literally pull the stock setup out of the tank, put the mount in there, put the cell back in, plug everything back in, and you're good to go.
Yeah, it works like literally so like it's got a stock tank.
Yeah, so and if you ever have issues, you can just go buy a replacement real quick. Like it's not
put a stock pump right back in it.
Yeah,
it's not hard. Christian ran it, so the pump, the fuel cell assembly can all come down, and we can just skid in there and change the pump without having to take everything completely apart.
Sure. Yeah, and what's the stock capacity on the tanks that are in this thing?
Stock is like, I want to say like, what do you think, like 22 on a stock GMT? 20 something?
So yeah, like I'd say
somewhere around there.
So you're getting maybe like 50% or more like increase in fuel capacity.
Yep.
And
it's in the right spot too. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So with the stock tank being up here, you put all that weight behind the axle, which is what these trucks like. So having that 250 pounds of fuel behind the axle now is helping a lot.
Yeah, and it's also, you wouldn't be able to run the stock tank anyways, because that upper length's going to come up.
Right there.
Yeah, that's where the stock tank would normally be, so that's not going to work. So this is just a nice solution that Izzy offers that makes everything super easy to relocate. So going back to those upper lengths, you can see all the mounts for those up there. And then all the brake lines and everything I ran. You can see 2 brake lines, one for the Hoon handle, one for the normal brake system.
Yep.
And then it comes down, and you can see that carry out all the way to here. There's your 2 caliper setup. So, yeah, that's a little wild. Christian, you want to talk about kind of how you mounted that stuff?
Yeah, so what we did, because these rear ends from the factory, the caliper's mounted on the front side of the housing, so it's up here, so that wouldn't have worked obviously with how the link is sitting here now on the link pivots and all that stuff.
Sure.
So what we did is we unbolted it, basically the whole hub assembly off the end of it, spun it around, so the factory caliper is now on the back side of the housing. And then what I did is I just made some brackets to mount the second set of calipers for the hoon handle up off the top.
Yeah. And is that all 4130 for those mounts?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So sweet. So there's a nice simple setup, and even with these are stock GMC or GM calipers,
factory
right?
calipers.
Yep,
And
factory
even with that
calipers.
hoon handle with the factory calipers, it locks them up.
Yep.
So that's really impressive.
It'll do it.
So are these just like, are these 4-piston, 2-piston?
Just single piston.
Yeah,
Singles?
Just
big,
stock
yeah, big
GM, big
Really?
single piston, yeah.
Yeah, that's impressive then. So that just shows you how much leverage you get out of having a hoon handle on a separate system. Like that's
Yeah,
insane.
exactly.
So one thing that people are probably going to talk about, and we've gotten questions about this, is why are we running wheel spacers on this thing?
Because
That kind of goes back to why we're running this axle, right?
Because
Yeah.
it is a stock axle for now, yeah. At the time, the full housing setup wasn't in the budget.
Sure.
So we kind of just were like, well, let's just work with what we have.
Yep.
And then here we are.
Yeah, so-
a completely overly built 14 volt.
Yeah, sure. So like
She
you
should
can
hold
for
up
sure-
for a little while.
Yeah, you can run up a bill just buying some of these housings. Like the pricing adds up real quick, especially when you're going with big hubs.
This guy right here knows
Yeah.
all about
Yeah.
All about that.
Yeah, Ryan over there's finally going to do the back half on the
Last
Ranger.
night, I was dealing with the whole.
Yeah, Ryan went through price one out and got a quote for a rear end last night. So hopefully you guys will be seeing some back half stuff on that coming up in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it quiet, dude. Man. So that'll get done down the line. This is gonna hold over for now with no
Yeah,
issues.
basically,
Yeah.
our thought process with this whole thing is when this truck was leaf sprung, he beat the absolute crap out of this thing with this housing in it as it was.
Sure.
So now with the trailing arm setup and it basically being a softer, nicer ride on the truck and on the housing,
Should hold
granted
up.
he's going to be going faster. This rear end should hold up just as well as it did with the leaf sprung stuff. So for the time being, this should be totally fine. And I 100% went overkill with the truss on this thing and everything with this housing. And just because I can't leave anything alone, and I
Yeah.
couldn't just run a tube across it and be done with it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But
But it looks so good.
Yeah, it does.
It all looks so good.
So Christian did a really good job with all the brake lines and all that routing, and then just all the plate work and all the welding and everything came out really nice. He designed like all these link pivots and then the truss itself in Fusion 360, and then cut it out on the plasma table. So if he ever wants to do this again, it makes it really easy, you know. So yeah, that's the axle. You can see kind of the shock mounts in the lower link right there. Pushed way towards the rear axle.
yeah. So the
yeah,
shock.
you want to talk about how you like position that, how you decided?
Yeah, so
where
the
that was gonna
shock
go?
here it's 12 inches in front of the axle. So a lot of people will run the shock on these short course setups a little bit closer to the axle. And I don't like the way that like a traditional style short course truck rides where the shock's on the axle tube. I just think they ride really harsh. So I didn't want to do that. And then I like the way that a traditional link setup works where the shock is way further forward on the trailing arm.
Sure.
But when you do that, you have to run a sway bar,
Yeah.
and ideally, when the shock gets that far forward, you really need a bypass with that type of setup too.
Yeah.
So this is
It's
like
the
a good,
perfect middle ground.
it's a
you know?
good
Literally a
in-between.
middle ground.
Yeah, so with
between
it
that
being a
nice
single
ride
shock,
and no sway bar, like this, yeah.
Yeah, with it being a single shock, I think where the shock is at now, placed on that trailing arm, it should be in a really good spot. So
Yeah. So sweet. So I think we covered. I mean, is that everything?
Pretty
What else?
much.
What else is there?
no, I think that's pretty much it.
Dude.
Now we're
you
gonna
know
make
what
her
that
dance.
means?
We're
That
gonna
means
make her
it's time
dance
to go
now.
let her eat, dude.
Yep.
Little
Oh
shakedown.
man.
Little shakedown action.
All right. Well, let's just hop right into that. That'll be in a separate video. That'll be coming out next week that you guys will see. But we'll give you a little taste right now.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.
Working.